children. Children! It's good to see you. The Kaiser's in town. The Kaiser has rolled in. It's official. Do you hear the sound? Do you hear the gong? You know what that means? We're about to get it on like Donkey Kong. How, son? Ow! You're watching PaleocratDiaries. I am your host, the Paleocrat, the OG, the one and only Jeremiah Bannister, right here, Meaning of Catholic, every Wednesday and Friday, Reason and Theology every Monday. The empire is expanding. If only it would expand in the home. That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to have a really good conversation. It's going to be controversial. I might lose some friends, actually. I might lose some friends over this because we're talking about obedience. And we're not just talking about obedience to your parents, your biological parents. We're talking about obedience, to the church. That's risky business. People are going to be like, oh my gosh, what is Paleo doing? The right thing. I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing my best to do the right thing. Right? People can disagree. I'm friends with a lot of folks who do. But I think this time that we're living in right now, I think it's urgent. And so that's what we're going to do right here. PaleocratDiaries. I got a cool show for you. We're even going to show you something pretty special, right? It's going to be a clip where it's another show. It's another show. I'm even going to show their intro because they wanted to share it yesterday. They wanted to share their intro at the end of the show, right? To play it again and let people see it. And they weren't able to get the audio out. And I thought about it. And I said, they were joking about, they might maybe get 200 views. If you're watching this right now, number one, put those wolves up. I want to see the wolves. It gets your boy energized. But more than that, you have to go over to this channel that we're going to show you. You have to go over there. These guys are cool dudes. It's like there are so many great shows that are not seen, right? There's so many. And I find that these shows, like last night, there was one line that stood out more than anything. They said, this show, we don't really do any of the Catholic drama stuff. Translate that, okay? Translate it into, they're probably awesome, right? They're probably awesome. They're not into the sensationalistic nonsense. They're not, ambulance chasers. Saying, oh, what's the most recent scandal? Let's go follow that. Salivating at the fangs. Biting into the church constantly, all the time. Venomous vipers, man. Wolves. These are bad wolves. Those are the bad wolves. We fight those wolves. And we say, stop. Okay? And so the thing is, these folks over there, they ain't doing that. They ain't playing that game. Instead, what are they doing? They're talking about the heroic act of charity. They're talking about redemptive suffering. Saying, if I suffer, it was one of the guys, Nick, he's the host. It was on his channel, on his YouTube channel. And I'll show you in a minute. I made a cool little video. I hope they appreciate it. And if you know them, make sure to send it over there. Send it over to David Gray, too. Send it over to David Gray. David Gray was there. You're going to see what David Gray had to say. Okay? David Gray is a cool dude. He's a cool dude. But he's in there, Nick's talking about, he gets migraines. And sometimes those migraines last for 2 days. Do you feel him on that? Right? How many of you have migraines? I don't get migraines. My mom did. So does my aunt. My aunt, she'll be laid out for days. So Nick knows. Nick knows what that's like to have migraines that put him down. And he was talking about, offering that up, not just for souls in purgatory, not just for those who are suffering and stuff, but even saying, are we able to do it to say, I really would like to apply it to this person? I said, well, you can say, look, I want to dispatch my guardian angel, right? That's a heroic act, in fact. That's one of those heroic things you can do. And I thought, well, yeah, of course you can. Now, God may use that in a different way, right? God knows the best way fit for that to happen, but it can be your intention as long as it's coupled with, of course, Lord, thy will be done. But that's the kind of stuff they were talking about. And, maybe a little bit about ya boy. They were talking about ya boy. And the reason why was because Hallelujah was there, and we're going to see Hallelujah here in a minute. In fact, let's just go right now. Let me make sure all that's off. I don't want to come back and have all that pop up. Let's see. Can I? Oh no, it is. Is it over here? Is it over here, or is it over on scene 2? Where is it? Ah, here it is. There we go. So we're just going to show these real quick, right? And then we're gonna play the video. There's no ad today. There's nothing like that. They're retooling things over at Saint Maker, right? They've heard the cry. They've heard the outcry from a lot of people. And I told you, didn't I? I said they are a responsive team. They are a really cool group of folks over there at the Saint Maker, and they're responsive. They said, look, we know that people have been reaching out. We know that people have been frustrated that they're not able to get it, and they want to rework everything. So they told the people, they said, look, hold off for a minute. We're doing some amazing things in the background. Okay, so do not let your heart be troubled on this. It is, in fact, excellent, excellent news. I still got to reach out to Nathan. Got to do it. It's all right. Jacob says, good morning, everyone. Yes, Phil Gonzalez. Yeah, Wolf, it's good to see you there, man. Wolf, I'm dead serious. Look, I thought about this. I was talking to somebody, and I said, we're a different kind of creature, right? You know, I every time I think of the wolf pack, every time I think of what we are and how we play into things, I imagine all the popular YouTubers, right? They're all on a battlefield. And they're all war torn, and they're sitting there, but they're wearing the regalia, right? They've been around for a while. They got tens of thousands or more, over 100,000 subscribers. They've got hundreds of thousands, maybe even some videos like David Gray with over 1 million views. Huge stuff. So these guys, they're out there. They're waging war like crazy. They're sitting there saying, man, everything's gone haywire. The world's going nuts, all this stuff. We need more people. We want more people in this battle. And all of a sudden, off in the distance, they hear a noise. They're not sure exactly what it is. It's a little bit of rabble-rousing noises, right? They're hearing maybe a bunch of laughter. They're hearing people howling. They're hearing the ground is shaking from the dancing that's going on, the jollity that's going on. And off in the distance, there's this beautiful forest. And right there, from underneath the trees, all of a sudden emerge a whole bunch of members of the wolf pack. You can hear the laughter. You can hear the prayer. You can hear the sanctus. You can hear the music. You can hear all of it. And we come out, and we are a ragtag group of freak and geek weirdos. And we roll in, but we ain't by ourselves. It ain't just one dude showing up. There's a bunch of people showing up. And whenever they show up in these chats and they show up in these live streams, you know who they are. You know that they've identified with it. Why? Because of an emoji. And I said, how many people, how many groups? We need to get a pin, don't we? We need to get a Wolfpack pin. Straight to the dome pin. We got to get that merch. Angela, my mega hot half Korean wife, slash, secretary, right? She's my beauty queen. She's got to get on that. Yo, baby cakes. Yo, sweet thing. What? We got to get some pins. I gotta what? Get some pins. We got to make merch, baby. I love her. Yeah, she keeps normally everything going on. Today we're going to talk about it. It's a little bit different. It required Papa to roll in. But we roll into these things, and people can tell. Imagine being the host of some show. You have no idea what the Wolfpack is. You have no idea what PaleocratDiaries is. All of a sudden, a bunch of people show up in that comment section, and for some crazy reason, all of these people are throwing up wolf emojis. And they're like, well, I don't know what this is about, but there's a bunch of these people. There's a bunch of them, and it's like, well, we heard the howl. We saw the smoke signals. We're booking it, man. We've got our binoculars at the ready 24/7. 24/7. Let's see. Yeah, Angela, we'll be live soon. Had some children issues to deal with. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, Andrew says, Paleo, we'll get them in line. Yes, I did. In the Lord, man, we had to sit down and do a big time reset in the home. It didn't start out right. You start out the day. We did pillow blankets. That's the longest lasting family tradition that we have. It started with my daughter Samantha. When she would creep out at night, she learned to get out of the bed, and she would lay on my chest while I watched vintage cartoons. I watched like Super Friends, right? And she would want to just lay on my lap. And so she would. She'd lay on my lap, and we're sitting there having or lay on my chest as I'm laying down. And we'd fall asleep, and then we'd carry her in to the crib and stuff. But then she learned how to get out of the crib. And she'd sneak out like a ninja, right? She's all like this. She's ducking and she's dodging. She's getting all around. She's hiding behind stuff that's plain as day. It's like spaghetti, that spaghetti clip where he's hiding and he goes, spaghetti, spaghetti, right out and all that. Yeah, it's like that. But she'd come out, and one day she had this little itsy blanky, man. I mean, it was like tiny. She was just learning to talk. And she comes out and she has that, and she has this little pillow that you could wind up. It was a music box on the inside, and you could wind it up, and it sang "Jesus Loves Me" in it. And she came out one day, and she raised up her hands, and she said, "Pillow blankets, Papa?" Like that. And because every night when she'd come out, I'd say, "Yo, Mama, can you, hook me up with some pillows and blankets for me and Samantha?" And so she'd bring pillows and blankets, and we'd cuddle up and stuff. So she figured it out. And she went, and so it turned into that. Well, we do pillow blankets last night. We have tons of them all laid out. It's like a castle of pillows and a castle of blankets, right? A whole fortress. We're all Team Tiny Dancers, all bunkered in. We're watching cartoons, vintage stuff. We're having a great time. Everybody goes to sleep. But then they wake up, and they're so comfortable in that zone that they decide that rather than get up and pray, rather than get up and read, rather than get up and do anything at all, shower, even brush their teeth, instead, they were going to turn the TV back on. And it set the tone for the day. Parents, do you feel me on that? Do you know what that does? Do you know what it does? It was terrible. It was terrible. So we had to just switch it up. We had to totally switch it up. Let's see here. I imagine one of those roll call whistles as the head of the family Von Trapp. You better believe it, man. It's true. If you want to see how we actually do musical things together, if you want to see, they played an instrument yesterday. The three of them, people, you can go and you can see that at the Wolfpack Chat, the Telegram. It's called just at the Wolfpack Chat. And you can see that on Telegram. We're bumping that thing every single day. All right, let's see here. Oh, yeah, taking a bet on when I'm going to start. Man. Yeah, no, don't think so, bro. If Christine says, "Oh, good, I'm not late." You're You're awesome, though, Christine. I can't be mad at you. I can't be mad at you. So, all right, let's see here. We're gonna keep going. I'll do a couple of these, and then we're gonna move on. I'm not gonna do too much today on anything else with the Wolfpack Chat. I might show something. I do have one thing to show from there. Let's see. Oh yeah, they're still betting on when I'm gonna be on. Okay, yeah, Mikey Joe, I like you, man. Mikey Joe, you're amazing. And dude, you're throwing up the signs, homie. You are throwing up those signs. You and Phil. Yeah, you and Phil. See, all the others, all they're doing is they're making bets on how late I'll be. That's bogus, man. Yeah, thank you, Jeremiah. I was becoming an ambulance chaser. It's good to be back on track. Yeah, people saying CM against restoring the faith, Tim Gordon against Taylor Marshall, all doing the virtual war dance. It's unfortunate, man. And look, there's nobody in that group of people that you mentioned. Taylor Marshall banned me, but part of me kind of gets it a little. I mean, I imagine this. Imagine maybe I, nudged him a little. I came out of the blue guns akimbo, man. It was a great video. Well, it was over something stupid. I jumped into a Twitter spat, and I made a video out of that, and it was actually against Tim Gordon. Now I'm friends with Tim Gordon, but I mean, I had a whole bunch of people. Skojic got mad at me. That's how I named the pink headphones the little Skojis, was because of that. Taylor Marshall was ticked, even Tim Gordon's wife, Steph, and she's amazing, man, by the way. We are so grateful for her. She's just such an amazing woman, Like me, Tim knows he's out of his league. And Tim Flanders knows it too. All the boys, man, we all know. We get it. We're out of our league, man, with this. But Marshall, the other people, nobody's ever done me wrong. CM's never done me wrong. Restoring the Faith has never done me wrong. Tim Gordon's never done me wrong. Right? None of these folks have done me wrong. So what I'm going to say, look, this is nothing against any of them, but I look at it, and some of them are trying, like their hearts are saying, look, we're just trying to resolve this and get it settled. And I'm like, the eyes of the world are on a case, right? Like if it wasn't for Rittenhouse and all that, we would be having it even worse. And you say all the eyes are on it, and people go online, and what do they see? What do they see? They see church militants tweeting out as a person. As a person. It didn't come across like an entity, did it? And look, I went to school for the same stuff they did. I'm a journalist. I went to school. I went to J school. I know about media law and media ethics. I know what that is. We could probably have great conversations about that stuff. But one of those things, can you imagine WAPO or New York Times start tweeting like a person, making things personal back and forth instead of the editor doing it himself? Can you even imagine that? That's the world, man. That's the world. And how does it not smack? How does this whole thing not smack of the part in the Bible that says you're dragging each other in front of court, worldly judges? And look at what it's doing when the eyes are on the church. They see this and go, man, oh my gosh, this is, why would I become Catholic? Why? Isn't one of the things you get when everybody's wrapped up in rationalism as if it's just a good syllogism that's going to get it? Well, but I gave you a good syllogism. They're looking at our lives, man. They're looking at our stinking lives. I'm not even saying that nothing that they've written is worth anything. That's irrelevant to me. Have you talked to them in private? I mean, I guess so. I guess, yeah, people have seen what was said in private. Holy cow. Holy cow, shame, man. That's bringing shame on everybody. That's unfriendly fire. You got, what the heck? Is everybody in the world collateral damage for this crap? I'm sorry that I'm mad about it, but come on, man. Come on. And how many of those folks have written letters? Didn't I say, write a letter to that priest. Get on your knees and pray for that priest. Make a prayer group privately to pray for that priest. But the one thing not to do is to make a spectacle of the church in public. Holy freaking cow. Shame. I'm sorry for saying freaking. I'm legit mad about it. I'm legit angry. And what are we doing? We're talking about prayer. What are we doing? We're talking about Lasance, about making ourselves better because we're living epistles to the world. This is literally an affront to that. If that's a living epistle, then that epistle is a horror show. It is a freak show. Shame, man. Shame on y'all. Shame on y'all, for real. Go get a room. Yeah, look, people made enemies. Andrew brings it up. He says, people... And look, I don't know enough about some of these guys to say that. To me, I look at it and say it's kind of a little bit irrelevant to me. I don't, as a media person, man, this is tiddlywink land. It's tiddlywinks. These people are playing with Play-Doh. It's not right. It's not right, man. And I think deep down inside, that if they look at it and they say, well, what is it really? What is it really that's driving so much of this, man? Straight up pride. Straight up, man. This is super dupe sad. Andrew said, I went to confession last night and said I'm done with causing division like that. Dude, I straight up love you. You're about to make me cry, bro. Straight up, man. I want nothing to do with it. I'm joining the wolf pack. Dude, we're glad trads, man. We're glad trads living in tumultuous times, and it's affecting the church, dude. Seriously. Seriously. I'm grateful for all of you. I'm so grateful. Diane, there's that wolf, that prayer, that rose. I love you. I mean it. And by the way, is it Diane or Diana? Because it's two N's. I've been saying Diane this whole time. But I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful. So we're going back to this, okay? Because I'm going to show this. I got to calm down. I got to calm down. I'll lose my voice. There's been certain shows that I've done where things get real serious. I remember back when I was with Holy Faith Media, You know, I mean, that show was like just nothing but fun. You know, we're just cracking up. And half the show, the first 45 minutes, was nothing but a good time. We're joking around. We're talking about TikTok videos and viral stuff. And I'm just reacting, you know, as a reaction show. And I'm just acting as wild and as zany as I can here. But imagine that for 45 minutes, just a comedic show. It's the first 45, it's all it was. But there were certain times, and I don't even know what caused it, but it was one time I started out, and I just told everybody, I think a couple occasions, but one I remember most, is I said, we're not going to talk today about funny things. I said, we're going to talk a really serious thing. We didn't do any of the normal stuff that's all the jazzy music and all the let's go, go, go type stuff. It was just right away. It was jolting. And it's maybe one of the best episodes I ever did over there. We talked about preparation for death. I think it was when I found out that my sister's cancer had progressed real bad. And I'd seen her, and she told me something. She said that she believed that this was kind of the beginning of the end in her battle against cancer. Please pray for her, by the way. Her name's Phoebe. She's an amazing person. She's changed my life, in fact. And so, but I got on the air, and we just talked about preparation for death. I went through line by line. Normally, I would show a whole bunch of stories, and there'd be memes, and there'd be GIFs, there'd be all that stuff, right? Not that time. Not that time. In that time, it was just screenshots like this show, but it was from preparation for death, and we talked about the seriousness of our being mortal, the seriousness of our need to take a knee for Jesus Christ. And it was a powerful episode. So, you know, I want to have fun with this show. I don't just want to just talk, because we have to be able to talk about topics like this. I'm not going to go into the details. I'm not going to go into any of the details like, oh, but then this happened over here, but then this person said that, but there's a backstory of this, but this is a legit criticism of that. Not doing it. They want to talk to me, they can call me on the phone. Join on Telegram and call me. It's encrypted on both ends. But I ain't playing anymore. I'm not. And look, do you think I'm making pals this way? Do you think that people in that world, do you think that they're thinking, oh man, I'm really glad Jeremiah's saying all this about what's going on? Dude, they're in a position where, look, they probably want people in their corner, right? To make, because they're experiencing some pretty crazy stuff. Maybe there's a little bit of guilt. Maybe there's not. Maybe there's a little bit of anger. You gotta presume it. A little bit of pride getting bumped into. Throwing off the gloves, saying we're going knuckle to face. Foot to face with my roundhouse kick. My windmill kick. And so they're not looking for people to say, look, you guys are acting like buffoons. The whole world is watching you guys slug each other to death. It's like Fight Club out in public. Okay, I mean, the church can be like a fight club in a way. We're all brothers and sisters. And yet we can have serious disagreements. We can call each other out. In fact, we need to. If somebody's done something wrong, it's your family that's able to go and tell you. It's your family that needs to go. That's why, look, it's so legit to do that if one person, it doesn't work, you're supposed to bring 2 or 3. And if it still doesn't work, you still bring it back home. You don't lay it out, that laundry. You don't throw those skeletons out of the church and say, oh, look at this, everybody. Because we're surrounded by savages, cannibalistic savages. Have you not learned? Are you unaware? Shame. This, though, is not shame. This here is not shame. This is not. Yeah, someone said it's now known cancer can be cured nowadays by eating and juicing organic vegetables. That's actually very fake news. My sister does that. My sister is the most radical alternative medicine person. That's why I said she actually changed my life. I was opposed to her doing, alternative stuff. She goes down to Mexico. She goes to Oasis of Hope and does a whole bunch. Her protocol is the most intense protocol in the universe. It's Herculean, right? It's like Olympian mode. Like it's like that old game, Wolfenstein, and you're sitting there and I forget what it was. It was like kill me or whatever. the mode, like you had, I'm a crybaby wuss level, and you had like the next one. Same thing with Doom, right? And so you that was on the bring it on or whatever. That was like the most hardcore one. That's the mode she's on, because cancer is ravaging her. It was everywhere. They gave her a year to live. She's lived for 4 so far. So she's rocking it out. But even things down to like trampoline, she does these rebounder things for a long time. She does juicing. She does, she's vegan. Although I believe she's incorporated some like fish and stuff. So pescatarian, I think a little bit, maybe. Doesn't use different things. Anything that's got, artificial chemicals, artificial flavors, anything like that, colors, anything like that. She's extreme about it, and she's doing a really good job. And she takes, all different kinds, nutraceuticals. So there's immunotherapy, and so she does all of this, even down to where you get in that cold chamber and stuff. We're talking serious, but the juicing thing, she does that all the time. She does that all the time, and it comes back, it goes away, it comes back, so she can keep it. It didn't cure it, right? But it definitely kept it at bay. It definitely diminished it compared to what it was. It started out as big as an avocado. I mean, her breast cancer. She was pregnant, and so everybody was telling her, "Oh, it's a clogged milk duct," and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it started hurting really badly. And she went in, and they right away they're like, "It's not a milk duct. You have cancer. You have cancer, and you have a year to live." Even if you get the double mastectomy, even if you get, full-blown radiation and chemo, all that stuff, you have 1 year. And she said, "I'm not doing any of that." And it's gotten to the point now where she's actually done radiation. She's done those options. She even did, of course, like, medicinal cannabis and stuff like that. So it's Rick Simpson oil, things like that. And so she's done that. That protocol, and she's done a good job. But please pray for her, right? And by the way, yes, thank you for mentioning the juicing organic vegetables. That's actually a really good thing, and not just for people who have it, but even people who don't and stuff like that. And so, all right, I want to show this video, and then we're gonna move forward. I'm sorry it took so long. We got to rock this out, okay? So I'm really grateful. By the way, I'm grateful that all of you are here. I'm grateful that we'll put this up real quick. I'm grateful for all the people over at the Wolfpack chat. So make sure to go check that out. In fact, I had something up here. Let's see. Okay, yeah. See, PaleocratDiaries. Oh, what the? Oh yeah, my forum, his forum. Yeah, it's pretty legit, man. Kurt Rambis. I am the Kurt Rambis. And that's a great video, by the way. I teach Dr. Sure Shot, the Sure Shot method. Okay. Oh, this right here. I wanted to remind everybody. Right, Genevieve Therese says, "Good morning, Wolfpack. Remember to fast and abstain on this wonderful Friday." Yes, so I'm really, really grateful for Steven there. He's a great guy. He's doing amazing things in his life. He's got really cool kids. And so I wanted to throw that out there. Say you're Wolfpack popular there, Genevieve. We're super grateful for you. Look at that face. Look how happy she is. Look at the dad. I mean, he's super happy, man. He's a proud guy. Proud guy. All right, here we go. Here is the Old-Fashioned Catholic Show. We're going to show a clip of this. Our moderator, Hallelujah, was on the show. And she even talked about Tridentine brewing. She wasn't able to drink it. Because she's pregnant. She's 20 weeks pregnant. So keep her in prayer, too, that everything goes great with that. She's a really cool mom and a really cool mod, not only on this channel here, but, of course, at the Wolfpack. She's a mod over there. She's the leading up the Wolfpack prayer chain. And we've had a lot recently with Veronica. Veronica also, she's our librarian Britbot over at the Canine Brigade over there. That's the book club that we're going through. Tomorrow, actually, we have our second book club meeting. It's a live chat, so you can go in either with audio or you don't even have to talk. You can just listen, or you can participate. You can do audio, video, doesn't matter. It's like a Skype call a little bit. And you go in there, it's recorded, and that way it's shared in the Canine Brigade and shared in the Wolfpack chat for everybody, the bigger chat. And that way people can follow along with the book and learn and participate in the study of the book, Interior Castle by St. Teresa of Avila. And so make sure to go and do that. We're really grateful, of course, for our librarian, Britbot. Totally awesome, but we're really grateful, of course, also for Hallelujah. So here she is on her appearance on the Old Fashioned Catholic Show with not only with Nick and company, but also with David Gray. So here we go. It's a lot of fun. We'll be back right after this.
Yeah, man, he gets all sorts of flack from everybody left and right.
Anthony said he's
See, Anthony knows. Anthony's in with me. So there is a guy you guys should check out, Jeremiah Bannister. David knows who this is.
the PaleocratDiaries guy.
Yes, he's on Meaning of Catholic. You guys, Nick, you would probably find him hilarious.
I'm gonna look him up.
But he's on Meaning of Catholic. He just did a Enthusiasm series a little while ago, doing another series on the secular age right now. It's really good. And on Father Lasance.
What does he do? I never really. I was gonna have him on either my radio show or my podcast. I really don't understand what he does or what he's talking about, but he's like so entertaining. I mean, that's why. If you see me in a live stream, over there, Haley, it's just because I just think he's funny and he has like this personality. But I have no idea what he's talking about whatsoever.
So he's usually reading from a book. So right now he's reading Father Lasance, and he's going through like how to be a holy man and woman.
David, that's pretty good if a guy just reading a book on a live stream.
That's what I was gonna say.
Imagination. That's impressive.
Right. So Jeremiah, he's sitting there, he's reading these texts, and then he turns to the camera and he comments on them and he laughs or says something profound. He goes back and reads some more. It's like whole, and he has the whole background. He has the beard or whatever. I mean, he's just a character. It's really interesting.
And if you want your like socks rocked, check out his conversion story. It's crazy. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So crazy.
He sent it to me.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'll have to check him out. Thanks for sharing that.
No problem.
Thank you, Haley.
Don't you love her? Don't you love Haley? Rocking this out. Man, I like that song. That jam's pretty good, isn't it? It's pretty good. And it's crazy because I rolled into that. Right at the end. There was I was probably 5 seconds too late for that segment. So I didn't even hear it. I had no idea. And then Anthony said in the comments something, that David Gray said something about it. I had no clue. And he's like, he didn't understand. I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? He doesn't understand what I'm doing. Right? What I'm saying and what I'm all about. And look, man, hook a brother up, man. I'll be on your show. I'll be on your podcast. I'll be on your video, man. I'll rock that out. We'll have a good time. It doesn't matter either which way. I've done AM, FM radio, live, call-in stuff. I've done stuff, of course, obviously live video. And so no matter which way it goes, man, it'd be great to connect with you, David. I think you have really cool work. I love your work, man, in so many ways. And you're really proud of the kind of accomplishments that you've had, even that website. If you haven't gone to his website, people check it out. Make sure to put it in the comments. And sometimes YouTube will, if someone puts a link in the comments, sometimes they will, it has to go through authorization from the mod. So make sure if you're a mod in there and you see that, a link to his website, make sure that you do that. As well as, look, this is actually what I really want to ask, for real, okay? That show last night was encouraging, inspiring, entertaining. It was educational. It was all of these things. And it was fraternal. I mean, it was obviously these people very comfortable with each other, pretty laid back. They engaged with the live chat. They were surprised, Nick, the host, he was really surprised when I said that I'd interviewed Rich Mullins. I actually interviewed him twice, the guy who wrote Awesome God. And it was in reference to him mentioning Sixpence None the Richer. And I had seen Sixpence None the Richer. I have a song, one of my favorite songs of all time was actually by her singing, and she was like, I think 15 years old at the time. It's called Lee and Me by Starflyer 59. And then actually the first version of it, I think, was Starflyer 2000, right? It's a shoegazer band. So a lot of sound, kind of that haunting, soft, airy kind of vocal and stuff with that. So it's just layers upon layers of sound. But there's a song called Lee and Me, and she sings that. And so I was at Cornerstone Music Festival when she turned 16, and I was there. I used to have a video of it because she got, for her birthday, she got one of those little ponies, right, on a stick, like the pony head and stuff, and had a string, and she would, in between songs, she'd do that. It was her 16th birthday. So I've followed her. So I mentioned Rich Mullins. I mentioned Sixpence. I mentioned poor old Lou. I said I went to CFNI, and he's like, oh my gosh. He said, he went to Central Northern, Minneapolis. And I'm like, that's another Assembly of God affiliated school. And so it was kind of cool. So I really hope to connect with them. But I want it right now, okay? I don't care if you walk away from this video for a minute. It's gonna hurt my analytics. I don't even care. Do me a favor, okay? Put that link up. Put that link in the comment section to go to that video. Go like it, right? Keep it on don't put it in your watch later, because you don't watch it. Just pause it and keep the tab up there. And later on, play it, okay? They're cool guys, cool discussions. Very engaging, very educational, entertaining, and just outright fun. And go and when you comment in that comment section, don't just like it. Share it. If you do like it, okay, make sure, share it with people. Say, this is a really cool discussion about a heroic act of charity where you are giving the merit for your works in your life, the things that you are doing in your life, that those things are being contributed all the way through Our Lady to the souls in purgatory. Powerful discussion on that. Powerful discussion about suffering. We talked about that recently, didn't we? And how we have to be, glad trads, right? We have to be able to laugh at the lightning. We need to be able to dance in the rain. That's sort of a thing as Catholic people, that when we're on a deathbed, that we have to be able to smile in those final moments, right? With that hope that we have, and knowing that we're sinners, true, but we fled to the sacraments. We embraced that cross and we refused to let go. That sort of a thing. If you like that with them, make sure to comment in the comment section. Let them know you saw it. And when you do me a favor with this. You're doing yourself a favor by going and doing all that. Do me a favor. Put a wolf with it. Do a wolf emoji. Put a wolf emoji with it. Okay? Now, you may be only able to do that with your phone. I don't know. But no matter what, if you can, right, something like that to let people know. If you need to use a hashtag, the Wolfpack Chat, whatever it is, let them know. Because we want them to see that we support that kind of a thing, because they need it, right? I don't like hearing that kind of a video, that the highest that they can expect is maybe 200. It was sad at the end when I'm looking at it, and it was a time a little bit, but there was like 32 views live. And I thought, that's about one out of every 6 is a member of the pack. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of you guys. That's the kind of stuff that needs to be seen. We don't need to be sharing all that nonsense going on with the scandals and the sensationalism. We don't need to be doing that. We need to be lifting each other up. And that's how we do it. And the comments that said, brother has said over and over, if you're online fighting people and not praying first, you're wrong. The only thing brother has done wrong is get in CM crosshairs through association. I don't, as I said, I don't even know the background. That would be something that if they want to talk to me privately, I know there's 2 sides to stories. I get it. I'm a journalist, so I'm more than open, and there's more than 2 sides most of the time. It's always good to get both sides and then to talk to people who've been paying close attention to both, and to say, look at this. How have you taken that? And so, but that would be something, again, privately, man. You tweeted me publicly about this? Oh, bro. I will delete it. I won't even fight you back. I'll delete it. I'll message you privately, and I'll say, this is where you talk to me. You don't talk to me in public like that. Don't drag me into that shame. No way, Jose, homie. No way, Jose. All right, here we go. Yeah, in the comments, Carol says, I'm finished with bad Catholics. Yes, with the bad cats. You got the mad cats. You got the sad cats. You got the bad cats. You got all of them. And then you've got the rad cats that, okay. But then you've got the glad cats. That's what we are. We're the glad cats. We're the ones that are enjoying. We are enjoying life. We're rejoicing. Why? Because it's another day the Lord has made. It's another day the Lord has made. And because Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. It's as simple as a kid's song. Red and yellow, black and white, they're precious in His sight. Amen. Amen to that. Right? We don't even need to move beyond that. Simple, sagacious wisdom, right? Is it not? Tell me. It is. I know. Here's the thing. Here, today, we are going to do what we do each and every time. We are going to commit deep inside of our hearts that no matter how bad the world gets, in fact, especially when the world gets bad, what are we going to do? We're going to take a knee for Christ the King. We're going to bow low, shields down, swords down, head bowed before Christ the King, resolving deep in our hearts to never give up, to keep on smiling, and to remember that one day we too shall die, which means that we need to dream bigger thoughts right now. We need to dream bigger thoughts. We need to reevaluate, look in the mirror, realize that many mistakes have been made, but that it's not too late. Because God is God. Because we can redeem that time. Because all creation is crying out for the sons and daughters of God to rise up, to do the right thing, to let their lives be the argument. That's what we do. We are living epistles. It's the apologetics of hope. It's the wolf pack, the glad trash of the wolf pack. It's like leaven in the batch. And we're really hoping it's starting to work its way through. It's starting to work its way through. And it's starting to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Oh, you gotta love it. And so today we're actually going to talk about something. As I said, it is going to get your boy in some trouble. And let me say this, okay? As you probably know by now, I don't necessarily, just because I talk about a specific topic or I quote from a specific book, it doesn't mean that I agree with everything that person says. I think it is wonderful food for thought. It's fantastic. Fantastic food for thought. And so I look at it and say, okay, consider, for example, enthusiasm, right? By far, without a doubt, it has become something of a marker that people say, look, in his entire life, in his entire career, the defining series, the defining videos, it wasn't Paleo Radio, it wasn't Paleocrat Tribune, it wasn't Distributist Review, it wasn't any of these other things that he's done. None. Instead, wasn't PaleocratDiaries either as a podcast or as a video on Holy Faith Media? No. If there's anything that says that's a defining moment for a man, for his career and his show that really set it apart, okay? It's Meaning of Catholic and it's enthusiasm. And in both of those situations, I don't agree 100% with the people involved. I have disagreements with Kennedy Hall. Kennedy Hall is a great man. He is a friend of mine. I go to bat for him. Right? He's one of those guys, like I'm one of those good old boys, right? In a way, that if we're out somewhere, man, I'm seeing him getting, slugged around and stuff, man, I'm not going to be the Mennonite in the corner saying, well, let's just get down and pray for him. I'm jumping in there. I'm going to slug it, right? It's physical. We're face to face, person to person. I might be dealing a little bit with, doing this thing. As long as it's not being recorded on TV and such. And I'd be like, look, man. But the thing is, I have disagreements. We have disagreements. Okay? I have disagreements with Ronald Knox. In fact, the end of his book on the philosophy of humanism, we talked about that in episode 1. All right? We talked about it in episode 1, saying that on the nature and philosophy of enthusiasm. There are conclusions that he made that I didn't agree with. And it's true throughout the book. There were times where I would quote something and say, I don't entirely agree with this. This is one of those things, not that I don't agree with it, but that I am desiring to hear now. I am desiring to hear what other people have to say about it. Because this is one of those, maybe it's an ideal. Now, for him as a priest, we're talking Father Lasance, for him as a priest, this wasn't just an ideal, this was a mandate, right? And it's the same. I wish I had the exact quote. In fact, I don't know right now if Pax is Pax Domini, if he's in the chat. I don't know if he's in the live chat here. But I shared a while ago on PaleocratDiaries. In fact, let me see if I can find it real quick. Let me see if I can find it. Leo 13th. Let me see here. Did I do that? No, not that. I'm gonna see if I can find it. Nope. Okay, so it's not that. Yeah, I had some. Oh, there we go. Let's go ahead and find out if I have, because there's a quote in an encyclical here by Leo the 13th on Christian citizenship, and I felt like it was so important, and I'm going to scroll down because I have a feeling that I know where it is here. I have a feeling, right? Okay. There we go. Yeah, because he's talking about a false zeal. He's talking about people who have a false zeal and how it's blameworthy, right? And that they take it upon themselves to act a part which does not belong to them. They would fair see the church's mode of action influenced by their ideas and their judgment to such an extent that everything done otherwise they take ill or accept with repugnance. Some yet again expend their energies in fruitless contention, being worthy of blame equally with the former. To act in such manner is not to follow lawful authority, but to forestall it, and unauthorized assumes the duties of the spiritual rulers, to the great detriment of the order which God established in his church, to be observed how long? Forever. And which he does not permit to be violated with impunity by anyone, whoever he may be. It's remarkable. And he talks about how, there's, let me see here. Everyone has to regulate his mode of conduct according to the Constitution, right, of the church, which is not in the power of anyone to change. Consequently, just as in the exercise of their episcopal authority, the bishops ought to be united with the apostolic see. So he's saying, look, the bishops need to be united with the Pope. So should the members of the clergy and the laity live in close communion with their bishops. Among the prelates, indeed, one or other there may be, right, affording scope to criticism, either in regard to personal conduct or in reference to opinions by him entertained about points of doctrine. Think about this. So he's like, look, either in the way that they behave or in their points regarding doctrine. So he's admitting, he said, look, he wasn't ignorant. It's not like the church was out there, oh yeah, man, it was totally perfect back then. They were all just like really, really faithful people. Everybody was just really orthodox, the trads. Yeah. No, they weren't. He wouldn't have written this. But he did. But no private person. Think about it. Think about this. Just look, pause. Pause. We got the Nintendo controller. Pause it. Okay? Ask yourself this. Okay? Ask yourself this. Does any of this so far apply to you or to people you know? Does it? Just take a second. We'll just sit here for 1 second, right? I'm not joking. We're actually going to sit here. I want you just think. You don't need to hear me for this. I want you to think. Okay? Here we go. The answer is yes. The answer is yes. I don't need to go on longer than that. You know better. If you say no, you're faking. The world is packed with people like this, including oftentimes ourselves. How often have we done that? And we don't even think of it in terms of that, about that we're acting in ways that are above and beyond our pay grade. We're acting and speaking in ways that are well outside the bounds of our competency, authority, and jurisdiction. But you know what? We've read some blogs. We've read some, I've read some books, man. I watched some debates on YouTube. I've been following the click-clacktivists on Twitter. I've been following what they got to say. I have the reader where you can see the whole thread. Oh, I bet you have. I bet you have. But you don't have that competency, authority, or jurisdiction in the theological sense that the church understands it. You don't. I don't. That's why I am super glad, in fact, quite relieved, that at the beginning of the show that there's a disclaimer on that. That's why. That's why I'm also glad to fall on the shoulders of people much wiser, more sagacious, and in fact, who have orders. That those people have orders. I think David Gray put it great. He's like, he basically reads a book. Yeah, I do. I read books by those people. And then after I'm done, I'll read a portion of it, and then I'll tell a story, or I'll think about it, or I'll add to that, not even adding something separate. Sometimes I might disagree. Sometimes. But even that's tempered, because I say, look, if I'm willing, if someone is going to send something to me and say, I think you're wrong about this, I'll hear you out. I'm not too pompous to say I'm sorry. In fact, it's one of the things I wear on my sleeve, is that more than a dozen times in my career, I have had to sit in front of a microphone and stare into a screen and tell people I was wrong. I don't mind eating crow. In fact, it's one of those things that make you stronger. It is. It's almost like it's a Popeye's spinach in a way, right? You eat a little bit of crow, right? You got all 10 toes, shove them down your throat, You're like, I'm doing a bad job, guys. Doing a bad job. Messed up. Real bad. My whole conversion story is out there. My reversion story where I come back. That's all online. That's not out there as a thing of pride. That's an embarrassment. I'm throwing myself out there under the bus. I'm saying, look at the terrible things I've done that I wish I didn't have to do, but I did them, so I went to confession so that I can hopefully not only strive on the road to salvation and perfection with you, but one day be able to make it to heaven and to see and to dance and to sing and to pray with the saints, to worship, right, with the saints. But it's one of these things. So it says right here, no private person may arrogate to himself the office of judge which Christ our Lord has bestowed on that one alone whom he placed in charge of his lambs or of his sheep. This is Leo. I mean, if you heard this, let me ask you, if you heard this from Pope Francis, how would you respond? How would you respond to that? Let everyone bear in mind that most wise teaching of Gregory the Great, quote, subjects should be admonished not rashly to judge their prelates, even if they chance to see them acting in a blameworthy manner, lest justly reproving what is wrong. So he's saying, look, even if you see something, and this is Gregory the Great. So you got Leo coupled with Gregory the Great here. And then you got Rando Joe on Twitter. Nah, I think those guys were wrong. What do you do? You want a cookie, bro? You want a cookie, homie? Here, I'll toss you a quarter, dude. Go buy a lottery ticket. Better luck next time. Subjects should be admonished, right? Not rashly to judge their prelates, even if they chance to see them acting in a blameworthy manner. So if you see them acting in a blameworthy manner, right? He's assuming outright that that's not only happening, but not only that it can, but that it is, in fact. Lest justly reproving what is wrong. So it's like they're not even arguing that the reproving is wrong. They're saying, no, that's actually right. You're correct to point out that that's a bad thing. That they be led by pride into greater wrong. They are to be warned against the danger of setting themselves up in audacious opposition to the superiors whose shortcomings, which would include the above, what we just said above, which would be including doctrine even, shortcomings they may notice. Should therefore the superiors really have committed grievous sins? So let's say the superiors did. Let's say the superiors committed a grievous sin, something wicked bad. Their inferiors, penetrated with the fear of God, ought not to refuse them respectful submission. The actions of superiors should not be smitten by the sword of the word, even when they are rightly judged to have deserved censure, end quote. That's Gregory the Great being quoted by Leo XIII in the encyclical on Christian action, or Christian citizenship. And I don't just want to focus on just that, because we're talking about obedience in general. And so you throw back and you say, okay, why? Because of the commandment to honor your mother and father. Lasance begins this way. Direct your glance to Nazareth, and then contemplate the Holy Family. See what a splendid example of obedience the divine Redeemer gives, right? He talks about how in Holy Scripture, how it says that Jesus was subject to them. He advanced in wisdom and age and grace with God and with men. And he says he didn't advance in wisdom and grace in the way that people in a purely human sense. Right? He's the God-man. He's ever full, in fact, of wisdom and grace. So he couldn't have advanced in that sense. But he showed it more and more plainly. He allowed it to appear more and more openly that he was full of wisdom. But he wants to draw our attention, Lasance does, to the idea of he was subject to them. Thereby, Jesus became the model of respect and authority, or of the virtue of obedience. Jesus Christ, as the eternal Son of God, was himself authority personified. And yet, he was subject. Again, think about it. I say, we don't have the competency, authority, and jurisdiction, and that's one of the reasons why we need to recognize our place within the structure, the constitution of the church. Imagine this, right? As our example, you say, wow, so Jesus, right, our Lord, as the eternal Son of God, he is all those things put together and more, right? So he's the source of all authority. He's the source of all competency. He's the source of all jurisdiction. He is the ultimate source on all of that because he's the God-man. And yet, he was subject. And to whom? To human authority. To creatures. And ought man, a poor, miserable creature, instigated by pride and a false notion of liberty, refused to acknowledge the authority set over him by his Creator? That's one of those things. This is going to get tough. And take it out on him. If you want to come at me, fine. I'll say, look, I'm echoing in many ways what he's saying here. It's a false notion of liberty that says, I can just go ahead, I'm going to crank up a YouTube channel, and I'm going to make it so all I do is just lash the church 24/7. I'm going to take a discipline, and I'm going to whip the Pope into shape. Because Jesus did it in the temple, so that means I can. That's really weird of you. In the Western, educated, industrialized, rich, and democratic sense, the equalitarian, socialistic, leveling sense that assumes that because, the God-man was able to do this, that means you can. Oh, yeah. You come bearing miracles, son? You come bearing miracles? You got Old Testament saints manifesting next to you as you're transfigured on a mountain? Probably not. I'm assuming not. I'm assuming that you are, I don't know if I'd say transfiguring. you're figuring into another shape by sitting down in front of the TV all day long. Money down. Respect and obey authority as God wills that you should. Obedience is a virtue, an exceedingly precious virtue. And St. Augustine says it's the mother and root of all virtues. St. Bonaventure terms it a ship which carries one safe to heaven. That's been a slogan here. That has been a slogan here from the beginning. To say, we need to be able to say with childlike faith, the act of faith. And not do that little asterisk. I went to a wedding once, right? I went to this wedding, and it was in a Christian Reformed church, and great people. The husband now is converted to the Catholic Church. The daughter's been baptized in the Catholic Church, and so it's one of these things, man, where I go in, and I hadn't been in a church like that in a long time, and I'm looking around, or a religious building, a religious assembly, and so I go in, and I see these, I see their hymnals, and so I open it up, and they had the Athanasian Creed, the Nicene Creed. They had a whole bunch of creeds, different confessions and stuff in there, and so they had it. But if you go in, you look at the Nicene Creed, for example. It had a whole bunch of asterisks, and you had to go to look at the footnotes, and it was explaining away the meaning of all of these things. Well, we don't really mean it like this. I know that's kind of the way everybody thinks about it, but blah, blah, blah. And that's what I feel like so much of this obedience is to people nowadays. Is they say, well, yeah, man, you got to be obedient. Yeah, you got to be in communion with Rome. Asterisk. And we all got to read your, some individuals. Some Joe Schmo know-it-all, who sits there and says, my asterisk down at the bottom, I've done a decent amount of reading. I have a couple hundred books in my house. I may not have gone to Bible college or anything. I may not have done that. But you know what? The truth is, that asterisk is really important, and in fact, it's so important, I'm going to make a website, a .com, and I'm going to go and I'm going to tell everybody on the planet that they got to submit to this idea, or else maybe they might not, in fact, go to heaven. Imagine if the act of faith ran like that. Well, I'm going to believe this and all the other things that the Catholic Church teaches with the asterisk of Joe Schmo know-it-all guy. Like, can you imagine that? And yet, in practice, that's in fact the way so many people live. It is. It's the way so many people live. Obedience is order, and order must exist where God rules and reigns. Disobedience, the offspring of pride, kindles the flames of hell and peoples its awful realms. Hence, St. Bernard says, take away self-will, and hell would cease to exist. And he admits sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes it's difficult. Pride, obstinacy, or self-will strives to gain the upper hand. So he's not saying it's difficult because sometimes those guys are bad guys. It's related to the fact that we live in a world where even the prelates can be bad guys. Or, in this situation, even your parents, your biological parents, maybe they're bad. Maybe they're bad. But he's saying, even in that situation, where does the problem lie? Does he say, your parents are scumbags? Does he say that? Did he say, you know what, it's really hard sometimes because the prelates are scumbags? Or did he throw it right back at us again? And say, look, you got to deal with you. I got to deal with me. And I can be mad all day long, and I can go on Twitter and clacktivate away all day long. I could do it. And I could end up being like that one guy. There was a dude in the comments one time who was like, yeah, well, if the popes listen to you. And I'm like, why would they, man? What are you talking about? That's really strange, isn't it? Do you assume that because I've got a YouTube show that gets 700 to 1,000 views normally, you think that, the Pope is like, well, I better listen to what that guy has to say? I think the popes would all be relieved that I'm not sitting there preaching at them. I think the saints would be too. But it's all the more necessary that you should now learn to bow your head. Accustom yourself to obey. For at a later period, you will find it still more difficult, perhaps even impossible. And he says it's not, mark it well, this objection to authority is not the result of a stern compulsion, but it's a Christian virtue. It springs from humility. So if we recognize our place, I'm glad I was in the military, to be honest. Like not only for patriotic reasons, and I love the Navy, stuff like that, but also just the mere fact that it put me in a world where I had to realize that there was a structure, that everything's not just equalitarian, that there are certain institutions that have a hierarchy, that have a chain of command, and that there are some conversations that are just simply none of my business. That's how, look, we can learn this even from, especially Latin Mass folks. We can learn this by the idea that, when we criticize there's a lot of folks, when they criticize the Novus Ordo and the reason people have for going, they want active participation and stuff, right? And they're like, yeah, but the priest, that's his business up there. He's doing the work. It's why he's wiping his head and stuff. He's getting sweaty up there. It's a lot of work. That's why sometimes you can sit down, right? You can sit down, take a breather there, Father. It's their work, though. You are there to pray along with them. You are there to hear the Mass. You are there to prepare your hearts, right? That's why we're there. That's why we're doing what we're doing. And it's the same thing with the way that doctrine plays out. We have this weird thing where we're like, oh no, we're in the mix, guys. We're in the mix. We're the ones. The end of the day. Faith sanctifies this humility, and love lightens its yoke. Only this Christian obedience for the love of God, can keep its ground under all circumstances and throughout your whole life. You know how many people, if you're listening right now, just be honest with me, for real. Be honest. How many of you have felt ungrounded? That you feel like the ground is shifting beneath you. How many of you have felt unsure, that you're frustrated? Maybe you've even doubted whether or not Catholicism is even true anymore. You've maybe gone and said, maybe, orthodoxy is the thing that maybe I should look into. How many of you know people like that who, they're out there? And if you go back and you look, how many of those people, this isn't an entire thing. I'm really preaching to a little bit to the choir on this, because there's not a bunch of, the clown mass folks in here. These are people who are trying and endeavoring, even in their words and actions, they're at least endeavoring to say, look, I want to do the right thing. I'm not out there trying to play Mr. Potato Head with the liturgy. But how many, if they go back and they really think about it, how many of us, when we've gone through that time, how many of us, if we went back into our timelines, how many of us were reading into our histories and our timelines? How many of us were reading article after article, watching YouTube video after YouTube video, sharing tweet after tweet or post after post, ragging on someone in the hierarchy? If I was a betting man, I'd bet the farm. I would. I'd bet the farm. In an age when respect for both divine and human authority appears to be fast vanishing from the face of the earth, we have to look to the childlike veneration of parents. Now, this is hard. This is hard because, look, I haven't always venerated my parents. I haven't. Publicly as well as privately, right? Showering her every mark of filial love with another reverence. He's talking about a woman or a man who was always showing filial love and reverence to his mother, a ruler, in fact. And that even newspapers, even secular papers recognize this as a valuable thing. He said, Lasance says, look at Christ himself. Look at the Savior. Look at his example. Strive to copy it when you find it difficult to obey. He subjected himself. By the recognition of authority and by submission to it, the world would become a paradise. Do all that lies in your power and remember the great reward which is promised to him who obeys. Quote, an obedient man shall speak of victory. Maybe one of the reasons why we're beautiful losers is because we think that we're being obedient, but we're really selective about what that means. That we have our own kind of crypto set a line that says, like, I am going to make that line here and make that line over here. And in that way, if we really think about it, it's like having a corpus of material and doing our little cutouts all the time. And you have these little, space missing, pages ripped out, and you say, there's the catechism. It's my own handmade one. That's what I live by. And I feel like I'm always losing all the time. I feel like it's just always going down, which is one of the reasons why I think this fanaticism for the end times is just swept through traddom. It has, hasn't it? It's a frenzy. Everybody, so many people, not everybody, so many people, they're throwing their hands up. There's no way out of this. It's either going to be massive amounts of just ravaging bloodshed, which of course is possible, or it's going to be, Peter and Paul coming down. It's going to be the Lord coming back, a second coming. That's the only way out. We're just done. I'm watching the world just doom and gloom. They're doomer gloomers, man. And what do you find? You find that those people, again, if you go and you look, those people seem to almost make a living out of bashing prelates. Which, by the way, is disobedient to Leo the 13th. And everybody will fall back. Everybody will fall back on primarily St. Athanasius. I say, well, what would you do during the time of St. Athanasius? And you say, well, what did they do? And what would he have done? The idea of the Pope and the relationship between papal pronouncements and his actions and what he did. You can only take certain things so far. But I'm willing to hear. Look, I'm willing to hear what people think about that. But even then, that doesn't change because we're back in the world. Look, I don't even need to come up with an answer for this. Pope Leo already has. Gregory the Great already has. We already quoted it. They're assuming bad behavior, scandalous behavior, sinful behavior, bad doctrine. Bad doctrine. Right? Worthy of censure. So we're not just talking like, well, it's just, not right, but it's not bad. No. These people would be worthy of censure. It's already been addressed. It's already been addressed. And not by the musings of Rando Joe Schmo, and a smattering of articles, but by a pope who quotes Gregory the Great, of course. Who quoted. So you're like, okay, I've doubled it up. To Nazareth go, and thou wilt mirrored see what thy obedience ought, my son, to be. Of what continual sacrifices is parental love capable? It talks about, turning the hair of a father of a family prematurely gray. Like, look, I get this, man. My kids did that to me today. I probably have a whole bunch of new gray hairs, right? My son noticed. I don't know if you can see that. Right there, that's new. That's hasn't been going on very long. Well, it's just starting to become visible, right? Where the white is taking it over. So I'm getting the wings on the side. It took a while, okay? It took a while to get there. And I think it's because I'm blessed with such an amazing family. And it's one of the reasons why. I've also experienced an enormous amount of stress, including, this morning. But I get it. What imprints wrinkles on his brow? Yeah, they've got names. They've got names. They got bedrooms upstairs. That's where they are right now. What causes the once vigorous and stalwart frame? Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right, Father Lasance. The vigorous and stalwart frame to be bent and broken before its time. You're talking about me. Yeah, I was so vigorous. I was so stalwart. Now I'm bent and broken. Oh, sweet Father. Oh, saintly Father. It is wearing, right? It's wearing care and anxiety for the temporal happiness and well-being of the children. It's not just that. It's also, on top of that, the supernatural, right? The supernatural wellness of my kids, the everlasting happiness and well-being of my children. Ask your mother what cruel anguish she's endured for your sake. One of the most biting things that I've ever had to experience in my life, I did something pretty bad. I was younger. That happened sometimes. Every once in a while, I might have done a little something, maybe. But a lot. But I did it, and my mom was really hurt by it. And I love my mom. She's a really important person to me. I've always had, I love my dad. There's part of me that's the daddy's boy, and part of me that's the mama's boy, right? My dad, with a lot of people say, well, you're a lot like your dad. But people who know me say, you're also a lot like your mom. You're a good fusion of the two. But I've always really cared if she was upset at me about something. Like it always stung in a different way than if it was my dad, And the thing is, I did this, and I remember her telling me, she's like, I still love you, but I'm disappointed in you. And I remember I almost would have rather heard that she was just angry than just disappointed. That being disappointed that I let her down, and that, what I did was unbecoming, not only to myself, but also to the family name. And it hurt. I know what mothers go through. How many hours has she watched beside your cradle? How much anxiety has she felt on your account? I have a picture of my wife. And she's, I'll share it in the Wolfpack chat today. This picture of my wife is really painful. In fact, give me a moment here. I might just simply look for it. I'm going to do it because it's exactly, I think it's like the church. Let me see. Work. I'm going to go down all the way to the beginning. Oh, sorry about that. I'm going to see if I can't find it quickly, then I will go ahead and I'll just simply not, I won't show it or anything like that. Pics and vids, here we go. Pics and vids. Got mama. Where's mama? I got it all laid out for the book, right? So for the book, I've got a whole bunch of pictures that kind of help me, right? That help me to see. In fact, oh no, I know where to think. Final days. Yeah. So in final days, we'll see if it's there. If it's not, that's a big bummer. Yeah. So basically, what it is, I'll share it on the Wolfpack chat. Okay. I'll share it at the Wolfpack chat, but it's a powerful picture. In fact, I hate asking her to do this, but if my wife can find that picture, right? I know it's hard, but it's one of those moments in time that our daughter was dying. Okay. So our daughter's dying, and she is, she's going through the ringer, right? It's where everything is starting to shut down. Everything's shutting down. She's getting super tired. She's not staying up anymore. She's not even wanting to eat anymore. She can't keep her meds down anymore. And she's falling asleep. She's sleeping for hours and hours a day. I mean, it was so bad how many hours a day she was sleeping that at first we were just concerned. We didn't know entirely what was going on. She stopped laughing. That was extremely painful. That was extremely hard to get to that place, because her laughter, her joy they were those things that kept us moving. They kept us going. And yet here we are in that place where there's no more laughter, there's no more joy. And it was so sad. And you're watching as death, I got it right here. Here we go. Right there. Right there. Behold a mother. Just behold it. You know, Our Lady at the foot of the cross, I have this it's like a love-hate thing with meditating on that. I know that it is so powerful, and we need to. Those swords of sorrow that she went through. Our Lady of Sorrows. In fact, we pass it every day when we go to school and bring the kids to school. We pass by Our Lady of Sorrows, and it's a constant reminder. And I imagine it, but it's not hard. It is hard in a way because, Our Lady and our Lord are on another level, right? That's not the same thing. But I've seen this. I took that picture. The helplessness, the love that she had and still does to this day, the way that it breaks her heart. In fact, I'm glad I found this picture. I'm glad that she didn't look for it because I know it hurts her. I know it's really hard. But this picture, the mother and the child, seeing the child so sick, so helpless, couldn't get off the couch anymore, had to be carried, even to use the bathroom. And we carried her from the beginning all the way through. They wanted to put diapers on her, and she said, "Papa, please don't allow them to do that to me." We carried her in our arms. We did what it took. And I look at that and I say, I see, when I look out and I see all these people and the way that they're behaving online, and the way that they're behaving, talking about their parents, bashing their moms, bashing their dads, bashing all of the leaders, bashing everything in the universe. I don't see somebody who's strong. That's not what I see. Do you? When you see that, when you see a church that is so razzed out that you can barely tell the difference between them and between something like the New York Times or WAPO or HuffPo, BuzzFeed, Rolling Stone, bashing all of the Catholic priests, bashing all, whatever it may be that they're bashing, whenever they're good, whenever we like them, they're getting bashed left and right. And the only way we can tell the difference between those two things is that the person who's a Catholic bashing all of them tells us that they wish it weren't so. I just wish it weren't so. I wish my mom wasn't behaving this way. I'm going to bash her left and right. I wish my dad wasn't behaving this way. I'm going to bash him left and right. I'm going to belittle him every single day. I'm going to belittle my mother every single day. Let's even say she's a scumbag. Let's say that she's a bad mom. In the comments, somebody said redemptive suffering. Yes, that's the thing. You have a choice. We all have a choice, don't we? We can either offer that up as redemptive suffering and say, and that includes the idea that we say, look, it's suffering a little bit for me too, because I want to have this pride thing where I rise up and I'm like, I'm gonna let them know I'm coming down the mountain with my paper mache 10 commandments. No authority or miracles to show. You can do that. But you know what that shows? That shows a sick and dying kid in the throes of death. That night, it's perfect. This night right here, it was the 4th of July. We live in a state where there's a lot of fireworks, And when kids have brain tumors, if you know families with kids with brain tumors and it's that time of year, please put those noise cancellation headphones on them. It's really bad. It's dangerous, in fact. And so, but that night on the 4th of July, there's all of these fireworks going off, and she'd been sleeping all day long. She'd been sleeping for days. We went to a camp a couple days before this. She was there for a couple days, And I remember going in, she was sleeping, and people were sad because they all wanted to see her because they'd seen her online and she was so joyous and so happy. You know, with her half paralyzed hand that she couldn't move very well, like a little bird wing that was broken. With her joyous smile, her cute voice, and her laughter, this resolve to always be happy no matter what, that she was going to dream bigger thoughts, and that cancer couldn't keep her from dreaming, that she was going to do whatever it took to get to that place to do what she loves. They wanted to see that, but she was too tired because she was dying. And I went into the cabin where she was laying, and it was completely dark, and I remember I tried talking to her. And I told her, I said, Samantha, are you awake? And there was no response. I said, Samantha, baby. And I sat on the bed next to her. And she was breathing. She wasn't responding. And I'm sitting there, and I start like shaking her. And she's not responding, and I'm shaking her harder in the whole bed, and it's in the dark. I can't even see her. And I'm shaking, and she's not responding, and I'm saying, please, Sammy, please wake up. Please wake up. I smacked her in the face. I smacked her for real. I was sitting there, I just whack. I said, please wake up right now. Wake up. Wake up, Sammy. And I heard this groan, and she said, what do you want, Papa? Sometimes I feel like that's the church. We're like asleep in the light, you know? We're in this crazy nightmare. We're in this crazy nightmare. All the things around us, all that's true. And yet we've been like lulled into this place where we think that we're active. We think we're doing those things that are bringing light to the world, but we're not. It's making matters worse. And our mothers, right? Our Lady, maybe our real mothers, the mothers and the sisters religious and all them, and the church itself, that they're heartbroken as their children are either wild people bashing the family, they're people assuming that they have more power than they do, going around acting in ways that are otherwise lawless, speaking like the world, acting like the world, and assuming that they're in fact maybe a great example of the way that Catholics ought to be. Or they're just flat out asleep. Behold that mother. Let your whole external demeanor give evidence of your respect for your father and mother. Even if clouds obscure the sun, I mean, if real and manifest faults on the part of your parents lessen the brightness of their dignity, search for and behold the sun. Through the clouds, namely, in spite of your parents' failings, remember their position of authority, because God did not say in the fourth commandment, honor a good father, a good mother, but simply honor thy father and mother. Think about it. He has a thing in here. Is it on this page? Imitate in this way the youthful Tobias, who is called by his aged parents the light of our eyes, the staff of our old age, the comfort of our life, the hope of our posterity. Show your filial love, especially by supporting your parents with the most tender devotedness and the utmost generosity in sickness and old age. Give proof of your filial affection also by praying daily and fervently for your parents. Do we pray every day for our parents? Do we honestly pray every day for the priest? And do we assume, I'm not even going to jump the gun, I'm going to let him do it. Take it out on him if you don't like it. Truly the prayer of a good son or a good daughter for his mother and father, right, is sure to pierce the clouds and gain a hearing, exercising, as it does, a holy compulsion in regard to God. And if perchance your parents sleep in God's acre, right, they're gone, they've died, the best way to remember and to honor them will be to lead an upright and honorable life. If ever in a distant land amid suffering and affliction and a hard struggle for existence, and it might not even be a foreign land, it might be where you are right now, you miss the kind of parents who have been long sleeping in the grave, remember that even then you are not an orphan. Has not Christ himself taught us to pray, Our Father who art in heaven? In this world, the sons of men are beloved by parents twain. God is one alone, yet when parents forsake, he will remain. Yeah. And he talks about that it comes with a promise. We know it does. It comes with a promise. And he says, look, if you're lying on your deathbed and you've obeyed, you've fully kept the fourth commandment, not only to your biological family, but to your mother, the church, and to your fathers in the priesthood, that if you do that, you can lie on your deathbed, and as they pass and review the whole of their long sojourn upon earth, discover many faults and failings, or even grievous sins, but amid the darkness, one bright star shines forth to cheer and to comfort them. It is the thought that they always honored their parents and were ever to them a cause of joy and never sorrow. He talks about the idea that what you did to your parents, you did to me. He talks about Ecclesiasticus 3:14 and 7:29 about sons, support the old age of thy father and grieve him not in his life. Forget not the groanings of thy mother. Honor and love your father and mother. Cherish them as you cherish no other. So shall God's blessing surely attend your path of life to its very end. Right here. He talks about Ecclesiasticus 7:31, where with all thy soul, fear the Lord and reverence his priests. It is said expressly, his priests. And if this was said in regard to the priests of the old covenant, how much more does it apply to the priests of the new covenant, to the priests of the Catholic Church? He talks about this, and think about it. And imagine even the ones you don't like, even the ones you say, I think those guys are scumbags. I think those are terrible guys. Money Down says they probably do a significant amount of this. It doesn't mean you got to love everything they do. It doesn't mean you got to say, yeah, well, I guess Jeremiah's just gone full ultramontane. He's just saying we got to just do everything that Cardinal Subich says. I'm not saying that. But think of this. These are the ambassadors. They have a different kind of role. They're the instruments which he employs, Christ the King, in order to bestow the greatest benefits upon us. This is a longer quote, so bear with me. Enjoy it. On the threshold of our life, at its earliest commencement, God sends the priest in order that by means of holy baptism, heaven may be opened to us and we may be made sons of God and fellow heirs of Jesus Christ. He sends the priest that he may instruct us in the truths of the faith and in the way of salvation, that he may guide us in the paths of virtue and piety and prepare us for the worthy reception of the holy sacraments of penance and of the altar. Again, he sends the priest in order that he may be our faithful counselor and sincere friend. He sends the priest when our hearts are bowed with sorrow, and when despair threatens to overwhelm us, in order that he may be to us a loving Father, and may pour into our wounds the oil and wine of salutary exhortations and divine consolations, and heal us by means of the sacrament of penance. If we're overcome by sickness, maybe our relatives desert us, he will send him in order to help us save our souls. Even if by doing it, he were to risk his own life, he will send the priest in order that they may assist us in our last conflict and bring us pardon in the sacrament of penance and give us food of our souls in the holy viaticum, courage and strength in extreme unction. Even after we have breathed our last, God will send the priest in order that he may pray for us and offer the holy sacrifice in our behalf, and thus cause our soul to be delivered all the sooner from the fire of purgatory. We thank God, dear reader, for all these benefits. And listen to this. This is where it gets longer. Ooh, buddy. All right, the threshing floor. We have reached the threshing floor here. Oh, boy. Pray for me, boys and girls. Pray for me. But non-Catholics and even unreasonable and evil-minded Catholics, and remember, Pius XI thought these books were mega dope, thought they were so mega dope, he wanted them taught all over the place, gave a special papal blessing to him. Yeah. Gave a special blessing. And he says, but non-Catholics and even unreasonable and evil-minded Catholics are often heard to say, and I quote, "It would be quite right to reverence priests if all the priests were worthy ambassadors and instruments of God." Pray for me, kids. Pray for ya, boy. Yeah, this is the storm coming. How many times have we said that? It'd be quite right. Yeah, I'd reverence that priest. If all these priests were worthy ambassadors and instruments of God. Some malicious persons are guilty of the most abominable injustice, in that they lay the open sins and failings of individual priests as a burden upon the shoulders of the whole class and dare to make the infamous remark, "They're all alike. They're all the same cloth." Think about it. Malicious people guilty of an abominable injustice. They lay open the sins and the failings of individual priests. And they put that burden all over everybody. Think about it. Do you see it? Do you feel it? Have you said it? Do you regret it? It's true that God permits unworthy members to be found in every class. Members who disgrace the body to which they belong. And in this respect, he makes the priesthood no exception. Right here. Can we, ought we calmly to listen and look on when this tree is reviled because there are rotten fruit found on it? How do we do it? He says, "Revere the priest whom God doth send to be thy wise, thy faithful friend, to guide thy footsteps on the way, which lead us to realms of endless day." But here, a distinguishing characteristic of a virtuous young man, and one which makes him universally respected, is the honor, love, and obedience he shows to his mother. He says, we have three, right? Your earthly mother, your heavenly mother, the Blessed Virgin Mary, and your spiritual mother, the Holy Catholic Church. He said, reflect on that. Reflect on it. Just for a few moments, lay it well to your heart. If you owe honor, love, and obedience to your earthly mother, how much more your spiritual mother, the Holy Catholic Church? For real. I'm being dead serious about this. And you want to know who else thought stuff like this? People can say, oh, you know what? What are you telling us we're supposed to do? How dare you? How dare you? Who are you to do that? I'm quoting, man. I'm quoting at length. How dare Father Lasance? Well, Father Lasance was, in fact, echoed later by people like St. Padre Pio, right? Michael Lofton had an interview recently, asked a question to his personal secretary. There were a lot of questions in that whole interview where the secretary was very open and honest about things, just saying, I'm not entirely sure. I don't recall this. I don't that. I don't this. Question came up about how do you respect your mother, the church. It wasn't even a delay. It was blam, 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 over. No way, Jose. You're a regular Johnny Q. Sally Sue Catholic. That's a real how dare you. That's a real how dare you. You think you could walk in there to that confessional? You think you could walk into St. Padre Pio's confessional and walk in there and tell him that you're just bashing the hierarchy left and right and that he's not going to come down on you? You're dreaming, son. You are dreaming. As a good Catholic, true to your convictions, you will never speak in a disrespectful manner of the church. Her doctrines, her services, her ceremonies, or her priests. You will never listen complacently when such conversation is carried on, but on the contrary, you will strive to prevent conversations of this nature as far as you are able. And you know what that means for me? That means that I rarely ever get on certain social media platforms. That's what it means. It means that I don't talk above my pay grade. I am super willing. I am more than willing. I'm desirous, in fact, to say that's the boundary for me in my life, for my station in life. Okay. Look, I converted as a pastor of a church who claimed to have extraordinary callings. Oh, yeah, I was called to be a pastor. No miracles to show for it, no ordinary or anything. It was totally extraordinary. It was the conduit. I was getting the message. But I'd had a bunch of kids. But I really felt like that's what God wanted me to do. So become a Catholic, though. And what do? I know right away, I know my place. I say, I'm going to be a journalist instead. I'm going to write about other people. I want to talk about other people. I want to talk about the saints. I want to talk about righteous living and stuff like that. I want to do that, but I have to know my place. I will follow the lead of the greats. And insofar as I abandoned that model, to that extent, I found myself closer and closer to schism, to such a point that I was given butterfly kisses to atheism. And eventually, I was drowning in secularism, the cesspool, the whirlpool of secularism. No wonder. And by the way, no. In the comments, somebody said, keep in mind that Father Lasance did not have the Novus Ordo church under his eyes. He had a church that was so bad at the time that even Pope St. Pius X wasn't able to allow people to take care of the catechism for him. He had to do it on his own because he was completely surrounded by modernists. By the time that Leo XIII, who wrote the encyclical before, there's no asterisk in there about that. There's no asterisk in there. Somebody could say, would that be? And look, I won't fall back on Lasance about this. I'll fall back on the popes. Right? I already quoted them earlier. Read the encyclical on Christian citizenship. People should read it and measure yourself up to that, and tell me if you think you're doing good. It's scathing. Okay, it's a real biting read. You should give it a try. Everybody. I'm not saying any one commenter. Everybody should just go ahead and just give it a try. Give it a try, okay? And yeah, socialism was around at the time. So you've got all that. Okay, you got the communists, you got the Marxists. You got all of it. And what does the Pope say? Does the Pope say, well, I know I said this. I know I said that you have your boundaries and your barriers, and even if they're doing things that are truly scandalous, even if what you're saying is true, your criticism, even if what you're saying as a lay person, your criticism is true, even if it's entirely just otherwise, why did the Pope say not to do it? Because it leads to pride. Why? Because it's rooted in it. Because all of a sudden, and he's the one who says it, he says they assume for themselves certain functions. They assume for themselves certain operations of the church that are beyond their place. And they assume it. And they'll say, but I'm right, aren't I? I mean, I did make a good point. And you're like, yeah, but it was wrong what you did. So I'm not saying that it's not a right point. I'm saying it's wrong what they did. We have to be able to say both things. Otherwise, we're saying that Pope Leo is just a chump. I'm not willing to do that. No way, Jose. No way, man. Also, right here it says prevent the conversation. And by the way, it's not just their actions and stuff, right? Their doctrine. He specifically points out their doctrine and says their beliefs about doctrine, calls it opinions. Why does he call it opinions? Because if it's not the doctrine of the church, it's all it is. Just that person's opinions. They're defecting this way or that. He says, even if it's worthy of censure, even if that priest is worthy of censure, you tell me how much worse it can get. You tell me. Yeah, I mean, we got people. I don't mean to be rude. We got people all over the place. They're just assuming left and right. It's like, well, look, man, you got the magic crystal ball. Where'd you get that? A Cracker Jacks box? For realsies. Where do some of these folks get it? You know, I think I'm seeing this. I think I'm seeing that. Even if it's true, that's what Leo is saying. Even if it's true, that's what Gregory the Great is saying. Even if it's true. Even if it's true, it says nothing about what you are and what we are allowed to do. It doesn't all of a sudden say, well, stuff's gotten pretty wicked bad. Stuff's gotten bad. I think I'm going to need to invoke the extraordinary calling, the extraordinary supplied jurisdiction of competency and authority. I didn't take a vow. I haven't gone through ordination or consecration. I've read myself some books. I've watched TV. I've followed the Twitter. Don't think so. Don't think so. But and how is that different? How is that different than Luther? Luther said, it's so wicked bad. It's so wicked bad that I have this extraordinary experience. It's obvious that the popes have contradicted themselves. I've heard that before. Oh, look at what they've done. Look at what they've done with sacraments. Look at what they've done, the way that they are so corrupt. Oh, the money, the scheming. I've heard that. Been there, heard that. From Catholics, you know. from Catholics. In public, not talking in my ear, not reaching out to me privately, going in public, and then saying, yeah, not only am I going to do this, I think other people should. I'm going to start sharing that stuff all over the place. That's an extraordinary calling. That's like Zwingli. You guys are all just, anybody who's doing that, that's a really special case. That's a really special case. And you know what? St. Francis de Sales talks about that, about those extraordinary callings, and says, you don't have that if you don't have an ordinary. Where do you draw the line on that? Because it turns into, well, I draw the line over here, you draw the line over there, I draw the line over here, you draw the line over there, and that's all they do. And you know what? At the end of the day, you can all day long, well, what I'm saying is tradition, and I have all of my proof texts lined up. I have a whole bunch. What do you think the Augustinus was? What do you think the Jansenists were especially good at? And look, that's an admission that the church has to make, and they have to say, look, they had tons of quotes all lined up. They had it. Do you think they couldn't make that case? Is what they did. They said it was a conscience issue. They could not sign it. They said, how could we possibly do that? We'd be throwing the saints under the bus. And lo and behold, guess what? Mother Angelique, Arnauld, none of those folks. Pascal, none of those folks. Nicole, none of them are the rock. None of them are the pillar. None of them are the foundation. None. Zero. Is that serious that the verdict on Kyle is not guilty on all counts? Alex Nagel, I am hoping you're being really serious about that. And I think that he should sue the ever-living daylights out of tons and tons and tons of places. He should be a billionaire by the time this is over. He might have to live on an island. All right. But at least he's a billionaire. I'm dead serious about it. And by the way, somebody brings up eschatology and says there is eschatology. That's true. And when people talk about the church as though the church is just, doom and gloom, that it's like, well, this is the end times, that kind of a thing. I make the position, I was maybe a little bit narcissistic about it, but I don't know anybody else who's actually done this. So I posted it, I included it as part of a post at 1 Peter 5. And I called it Paleocrat's Wager, okay? Paleocrat's Wager being that if you're looking at events and you assume, right, you assume that it's possible that we're living in the end, but that you are going to fall on the optimistic side of that equation and say, I don't believe that constellation is verifying that we're at the end of this, but I am always ready, right? So my attitude toward sociology, my attitude toward the world, toward every aspect of life is that which Pope St. Pius X talks about only a couple years before Fatima, okay? Only a couple years before that, to talk about a triumphant eschatology that says that we are going to be subjecting all things and that we will gradually, progressively be drawing all things and placing them in subjection to Christ the King, Christianizing these things, restoring them, right? Reconciling them into Jesus Christ. That when that happens, that's one side of the equation. But in the meantime, in doing so, that we are always ready, okay? We are standing with the lamps burning always. Because if he does come, then we are ready. On the other hand, there's another school of thought on this. I call them doomer gloomers. The doomer gloomers believe in an imminent eschatology. They have, anytime doomer gloomers have arisen all throughout history, they've actually been wrong every time. The only saving grace is that because they've been wrong so many times and because so much time has passed, they're actually closer to if or when that would actually happen. That's not much of a bone to throw to somebody, but it is a fact. That's something that has to be granted, is that we're at least closer to that particular time. However, accepting that as the eminent frame that says this is eminent, it could happen any time. I've seen the constellations. This is how it's going down. And the idea is, number one, that has a major time chilling effect on Catholic action. It does. It's why people end up going out to the hills and stuff. It's why people bunker down. You see this major resurgence of, communal type stuff. That's like, look, we gotta just bunker down, guys. It may be the end. And so you've got a lot of that. You got a lot of the fear factory stuff, right? It's like fear porn, and you've got a lot of that's permeating the YouTube culture. But what it does is it does two things: the chilling effect of Catholic action in restoring all things in Christ. Because what's the point? We're not going to shine brass on a sinking ship, right? I mean, if the Titanic's going down, and you're sitting there and you're like, well, let's shine the brass, let's make it really good, and you're mad because other people aren't shining brass. That would be very bizarre. That'd be very strange. But that is psychologically, that's what's happening when people believe that we're in the end right now, and yet you better go out and vote. So that's my position on it. Okay. All right. And if people would like to email me about it, they can. Down to about 10 minutes, guys. Let's see. Yeah, we should have a childlike love for these priests, for our Pope, and for our bishops. It's not, and some people are like, well, I pray for his conversion, that he becomes a real Catholic. I'm not sure how childlike love that is for the mother and stuff, I don't know. I mean, look, I'm willing to have that discussion if people really believe that, As a good Catholic, you must, before all things, give proof of the respect and love you feel for the Church by carefully obeying her commands and conforming to her decrees. For how could a son be said to love and honor his mother, were he to show himself indocile in regard to her and heedless of her commandments? How often have you heard that, by the way? Seriously, how often? How often have you heard people say, yeah, you got to be with the Church? Of course. You have to be connected to Rome. But you know what? I don't really listen to anything they say. I don't really have to. I only have to listen to certain dogmas. And you're like, do you have a list of those? No, but you kind of get a feel for it. No, you don't, dude. No, you do not. No. And that's its own kind of, look, who else could do that? An Arian. An Arian could. Oh, yeah, I don't need to listen to the Council of Nicaea. I think it's a counterfeit church. I think it's a counterfeit robber council. They changed the tradition. The Quietists, the Montanists, everybody who ends up not liking something that they don't like, wow, you know what? I don't need to listen to that. I know that it was, it's put out there. It's what the church believes. It's with the authority of the Pope and the magisterium. I understand that, but, I don't need to listen to that. I make up my own rules. I've got worms on the brain. Yeah. Worms on the brain, Army. Worms on the brain. Yeah, people can make mistakes, but again, worthy of censure, man. Worthy of censure. You still got to do what you still got to do. I mean, unless we're all better than the Pope, Let's see here. In the same way, judge for yourself whether he can be a really good Catholic who says, I'm a Catholic and will remain one, but it's not necessary to bother about the Pope, bishop, or priests. I know there's probably trads right now. They're like, I'm thinking about throwing away my Lasance missal. I think I'm going to throw it away. This guy, he's what is he talking about? How dare he? He's probably a modernist. What was it, man? 1906? What was that? And people go, well, there were bad guys back then. I'd say, yeah, but isn't that kind of my point a little bit? Isn't that kind of my point, actually? Let's see. Wherefore, be and remain a good, pious Catholic, true to your convictions, a Catholic who honors and loves his church, obeys her, and rejoices her by leading a truly Christian life. For it is and must remain true that a Catholic who does not honor and love his church, but refuses to obey her, is not acknowledged by God to be his child. If you hear her, you hear me. This opinion was expressed 1,600 years ago by the bishop, doctor of the church, and martyr St. Cyprian. He who will not have the church for his mother cannot have God for his father. Some people want their grandmother. It's in the line of mothers. Diluted Catholicism. Whoa, wow, that sounds good. It sounds like it's good and fitting for the show. This is probably going to be the worst rated episode I've ever done. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if people end up leaving. I don't want to sabotage myself. But at the same time, I sit there and say, look, it's like my decision to do Enthusiasm. The book on Enthusiasm. That wasn't going to be hopping off the shelves. That wasn't going to be people sharing it left and right. Check out this 2-hour-long video about mouth breathers or the family of love or, the convulsionaries and the circumcellions. And people are like, oh, yeah, I'm skipping over that. I believed it was important. I thought it was important. I looked around at the world around us. I looked around and said, what is it that affected me, that led me to this crazy place and people I know to a crazy place? And what are things that if we look out at the world and we see how this is working out, what are we seeing about it that makes it wicked bad? And what are books that can lead the way? Trailblazing books, maybe books written by brilliant men, not perfect, imperfect, but great men, great women, and to follow in their lead. Be true to yourself in thought, deed, and word. There it is again. I say every thought, every word, every deed, every action that we take a knee for Christ the King, that we allow that to advance the kingdom and the restoration of all things in Christ. Whatever you claim to be, that you ought to be in all fearlessness. Drop all pretense. Dare to be true to your convictions. What does Polonius say in Hamlet? To thine own self be true, and it must follow as the night, the day. Thou canst not then be false to any man. diluted Catholicism, fawning upon such enemies of the church who can promote temporal interest and by ranging himself on their side where important ecclesiastical questions are concerned. He says, don't be a half Catholic. Don't think in that way and then act in another. Do not conduct yourself here after one fashion and then after another. In church like a good Catholic and in daily life like an apostate. And he says in this, especially because the time is coming and the time is now where you cannot be mediocre. There's no alternative. Neutrality is not possible. He says there are people, the enemies of the church, that mock at and blaspheme the very same church, her ministers, her precepts, her ceremonies, her organization. Half-hearted Catholics are silent and utter no word of defense for their mother, but on the contrary, perhaps applaud the Billingsgate of her adversaries and even let their own tongues loose against her in vituperation. He calls them oscillatory and unprincipled and cowardly individuals. The people who do that, they're cowards. You know how you can tell they'd be cowards? Let them roll in. People who want the ear of the Pope. Imagine for a second if the Vatican rolled in and said, you know what? Yeah, he wants to talk to you. All of a sudden, man, it'd be way different. They ain't going to sit there and thunder. Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm just kicking tail 24/7 against the Pope. I'm calling him all sorts of names. And then they come and they're like, oh, crud. I better go buy a nice outfit. I better, present myself. No, come home, share pictures, and then maybe go right back at it. How long do you halt between two sides? If the Lord be God, follow him. But if Baal, follow him. Right here, we live in an age when decision is necessary, when half-heartedness can no more be tolerated in any struggle. And what's crazy about it, what's hard to convey, is that sometimes the people that say they're wholehearted and they're angry about the half-heartedness of what they call the other side, which is, the mother and stuff, that when they do that, they are in fact half-hearted. Because to be wholehearted would be to recognize and to hear Christ through the mouth of the greats, to hear them through Gregory the Great, to hear them through Leo the 13th. That's what it'd be. And to not do that is to allow open that presumption. And it's so perfectly laid out by Pope Leo the 13th. I don't even need to press it any further. I don't. It's over. A very momentous time is before us, a period when the civilized world will divide itself more and more into opposite camps, either for Christ or against Christ. Such is the watchword, the rallying cry. It behooves us to take a firm stand under the banner of Christ. The future belongs only to the resolute, wholehearted men and women. Be a man, be a woman, a dauntless, wholehearted Catholic. That's what we want to make here. That's what we want to make here. And why? Why? A sailor, tempest-tossed on life's rough tide. Seek Peter's bark and gladly there abide. Fear not, though waves run high and wild winds rage. She who has storms outlived from age to age will bear thee to the shore where tempests are no more. And I'm not going to talk about the few objections they talk about. He goes into talk about politics, particularly. He goes into politics and says, because I'm talking about that on Monday. I'll talk about it on Monday. All right, everybody. I'm really grateful for you. Pray for me, for real. Pray for me for real, because I know I've made some enemies. I know it is a fact, and pray that I'll pray for them. Pray for those people who have found themselves in the terribly tragic situation of making a public spectacle of our faith. Pray for them. Don't join in and try to micromanage. Get on your knees and say, God, this is you. Reach out to them privately. Don't go in public. It's already crazy enough. You're just going to be another megaphone in a big, huge arena filled with megaphones. And by arena, I mean, you know, the entire internet. It's ridiculous. So don't do it. Don't do it. Instead, join the Glad Trad Wolfpack over on Telegram. The link is in the description below. I really encourage you to do that. I also included links to find the Father Lasance, the guides for young men and for young women. I have those links in the description down below, so you can go ahead and you can see that. It will show you a number of different options to buy either one. Okay, and I got that link actually from David Haleva, Pax Domini on Telegram. He shared that. You can find those, find them at the price you like. You know, I don't make any money off any of it. I don't care where you get it. I encourage you to get it. I think it's a book that you'd keep with you forever. Okay? I'm grateful for every single one of those people in that chat. Okay? One last time, one last round of some wolves, man. Give it to you, boy. I'm serious, man. I love you guys. And this is hard. We've cried today, haven't we? We've growled a little bit. We've howled a little bit. We've given it everything we had, and we were true to ourselves. We loved our mothers and our fathers. Not because they're perfect. And not just because we're commanded to, but because we love God. We love church, and we love each other. Until next time, never give up. Keep on smiling. And memento mori.
I wanted to make people dream bigger thoughts.